Have you ever watched something and felt like it reached into your chest, gently cradled your heart, and then walked away with it? That's what Cowboy Bebop does. And the strangest part? It's not just the story, the music, or even the characters alone, it's the entire feeling of the show. It's this melancholic cocktail of nostalgia and yearning that leaves you wanting more, but also leaves you knowing you'll never really have it. Let's talk about why that is. Why does an anime set in the distant future about bounty hunters make you feel like you've lost something you never even had? And why does the idea of sitting with Spike, Jet, Faye, Ed, and even Ein make you wish you could pause time just to hang out on the Bebop for a little longer? Let's unpack this together. Every member of the Bebop crew is lonely. I mean profoundly, existentially lonely. It's almost as if they've all agreed to run away from their pasts by chasing their futures, and then they get stuck somewhere in the middle. Spike's past is a ghost that follows him like cigarette smoke. Jet carries his disappointments and betrayals like weights on his shoulders. Faye doesn't even know who she is, her amnesia leaving her adrift in a world she doesn't recognize. And Ed feels like the exception until you realize that her whimsical, chaotic energy is her way of filling the void of a missing family. Watching them, you feel this aching sadness. Because who hasn't felt that way? Who hasn't tried to run from their past? Only to find that it sneaks into every quiet moment. That shared loneliness among the crew makes them relatable. It's almost painful because you see a reflection of your own struggles, those moments where you're surrounded by people but still feel like you're on your own little island. One of the most heartbreaking things about Cowboy Bebop is how temporary everything feels. You know from the start that this isn't a story with a neatly tied up happy ending. It's in the music, the pacing, even the way the Bebop drifts aimlessly in space. Life, for these characters, is a series of fleeting moments. And isn't that how life feels for us too? You have these beautiful, profound connections, friendships, relationships, even random encounters, but they're all impermanent. Spike and Faye's banter, it's fun and sharp, but it's also laced with this quiet understanding that neither of them will ever really let their walls down. Jet's paternal care for the crew, it's touching, but you can tell he knows it won't last. Ed's departure from the Bebop is perhaps the most poignant example of this impermanence. She doesn't leave with drama or tears, she just leaves, like a whisper. It's this impermanence that makes you want to spend time with them even more. You know it won't last forever, so you cling to those moments when they're all together, playing poker, eating terrible bell peppers and beef, or just lounging on the ship. We need to talk about the music. Yoko Kanno and the Seatbelts didn't just create a soundtrack, they created a soul. Every note of Tank, every lingering melody of the real folk blues, it all hits differently when you're already feeling raw from the story. Jazz, blues, and rock weave together like threads in a tapestry, amplifying every emotion. You can't listen to Space Lion without feeling your chest tighten. The music is as much a character as Spike or Faye. It fills the quiet spaces where words aren't enough, and somehow it makes the silences feel heavier. It's like the music understands the things the characters can't say, and it says them for them. When you hear the final notes of the series, you're not just saying goodbye to a show, you're mourning the end of an era. For all their differences, the Bebop crew is a family. Not a traditional one, but a messy, dysfunctional, beautifully flawed one. And maybe that's why we want to be with them so badly. They're not perfect, but they accept each other anyway. Spike might tease Jet endlessly, but you know he respects him deeply. Faye might steal and sass her way through every episode, but she's fiercely protective when it counts. Ed is the wild card, the one who reminds them all how to laugh, even when the weight of their lives threatens to crush them. Their dynamic is comforting because it's so real. They fight, they leave, they come back, they screw up, and they forgive each other, not with grand gestures, but with small, quiet actions that speak volumes. Isn't that what we all want? A group of people who see us at our worst and stick around anyway? Spike is the epitome of cool, but beneath that exterior is a man who is broken in ways he'll never admit. His tragic love story with Julia and his rivalry with Vicious are central to the plot, but they're also metaphors for his internal struggle. Spike can't move forward because he's chained to his past. He lives in limbo, caught between life and death, past and present. And the most gut-wrenching part, he knows it. He just doesn't know how to change it. When Spike walks into his final battle, you feel this unbearable mix of pride and heartbreak. He's facing his demons, but he's also walking toward his end. His whispered bang in the closing moments isn't just a goodbye to Vicious, it's a goodbye to us, to the Bebop, to everything. So why does Cowboy Bebop leave us feeling sad and yearning? Because it's a mirror. It reflects our own fears, our own struggles with impermanence, loneliness, and the search for meaning. It reminds us that life is messy and beautiful and heartbreaking all at once. The Bebop crew feels like friends because they're flawed and real in a way that most fictional characters aren't. They don't get a perfect ending, and neither do we. But maybe that's the point. Maybe Cowboy Bebop is telling us to appreciate the fleeting moments, to cherish the connections we have while we have them. Because in the end, life is just a collection of those moments, some joyful, some painful, all temporary. If I had the chance, I'd sit on the Bebop's couch even just for a day. I'd listen to Jet's stories, let Ed draw something ridiculous on my face, and maybe even share a drink with Spike, though I doubt he'd say much. I'd soak in every second, knowing it wouldn't last. And when it was time to leave, I'd say goodbye with a heavy heart, but also with gratitude. Because sometimes, the best things in life are the ones that don't last forever. If this narrative resonated with you, do support us. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe. Thank you for staying with us to the end. See you in the next video on Plaid Chronicles.